And joining us now to talk about this escalating situation on the border is our guest Zmicier Mitskevich, journalist working for the independent Belsat TV. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Hello.
So the situation is getting worse, or at least it seems so. What are Lukashenko's intentions behind intensifying this pressure on the border right now?
First of all, I believe that it can be also the reaction on the this Polish shield being announced, and he also wants to show that I even don't know, maybe he wants to show that he's the man to negotiate such decisions with, and that his opinion should be taken into consideration. So at the same time, I actually don't believe that it's only Lukashenko's plan, because as we see, there is in these kind of topics, he's 100% dependent on the Kremlin, and everything that is happening is being planned in Kremlin as well. For example, even if we look at these migrants, we see that most of them have Russian visas. So we understand that it's also a very interesting point that they're brought by Russian special services. So this cannot be, like usual people, usual migrants. So this can be, as previously we've seen during previous migrants attacks and these hybrid operations of Russian Federation and the Lukashenko regime, that these people may be part of some Afghan secret services or from different secret services of Saddam Hussein regime that are now connected with Russian secret services. So we know that Russia is recruiting these people, and this is also a part of the operation to bring these people to Poland and inside European Union to destabilize the situation. At the same time, these very provocations that they carry out on the border, these attacks of soldiers, they're also being done, to my point of view, this is especially planned because they want to destabilize Polish society. They know that maybe some people will say that, we don't need to react so tough on this kind of provocations. We need to let these people in, and so on and so forth. So this is their main aim, to destabilize situation in Poland and inside European Union. So they want to use this scenario that they used previously during previous this migrants attack, but as we see, they're not succeeding in that.
Absolutely, but on the back of what you're saying, there are comments that perhaps Belarus has been not considered as an independent force, that obviously Lukashenko and Putin, they work together, and obviously Lukashenko is taken advantage of in many ways when Putin is carrying out, his vision of aggression. But has Poland in particular, and perhaps the region in the wider sense, not really understood the potential that Lukashenko has when it comes to destabilizing the region?
The point is that, it's the very decision of Kremlin what the potential they will use, because we see that at the moment they use Belarusian citizens for also for destabilizing in Poland. We see that they carry out these hybrid operations with these fires. So this is also part of actions of the Kremlin. They're using the citizens of Belarus and Ukraine to carry out these kind of hybrid operations. So I don't think that Lukashenko is independently taking these kind of decisions. So here we should say that maybe he wants to show that he's an independent actor in this kind of situation. Maybe in such action like that, he wants to restore his subjectivity in the eyes of the West, for example, that he's the man to help negotiations with. But we don't see that, as any possibility to do that, because from my point of view, every decision maker in European Union understands that it's not Lukashenko who's holding cards in his hands. We see that there is no any logic and any result in negotiation with Lukashenko, because he cannot take real decision, and he can't he can't keep his words, because we should remember that previously in 2022 he told that 3 days before the Russian invasion in Ukraine, he told that from the territory of Belarus, there never will be any attack on Ukrainian territory, so you can believe me 100%. And what happened? So, now everybody knows that Lukashenko is not responsible for his own words, not, let alone the decisions on national security and defense. It's not his sphere of responsibility anymore. So I would say that it's necessary just to look at the broader picture, to understand the Russian plans, because we see that the main goal of Russia for now is destabilizing the situation in the West. And we also should take into consideration the elections into European Parliament. They also want to use these kind of operations to destabilize the situation before these elections. Also to enforce, this party that will be promoting negotiations with Russia or something like that. They want to intimidate Western society. They want to intimidate people there to step back in their support of Ukraine and to start negotiation with Russia. So that's their main plan. They want people in Europe to be so frightened that they would be paralyzed and not able to take any political decisions and not to reply for Russian provocations. So that's their main goal. And from my point of view, this operation is a part of this big plan of Russia to destabilize Europe this year.
Could it also be that Putin is eyeing the European Parliament elections and he's thinking, okay, if we have more border incidents, we're going to have more people calling for migration to be reduced, and so we will have more populist parties getting more votes, and as we know, many of these populist parties across Europe, mostly far-right parties, are often affiliated with the Kremlin, or at least sympathetic towards the Kremlin. And we know, without going into details, Putin clearly would like to have more of these parties, more of those candidates winning in their respective constituencies. So could this also be a part of the plan?
I would also say that, I won't speak here now only about far-right parties. I would also speak about far-left parties that are also 100% pro-Russian, and that are, saying different, very strange things about accepting migration, about also destabilizing European society. These are two extremes that are used by Russian propaganda. If you see that the Russians also support different leftist movements across Europe, and you will find their support, for example, in this pro-Palestine movements in Europe as well. And this extreme left narrative is also supported by Russia, and they're using this to speak about something like double standards in Europe and so on and so forth. So this is also a big instrument for Russian influence in Europe as well. So I would say that what Russia is provoking, it's not like populism or something. They are provoking the polarization. They are provoking the absence of dialogue in Europe and the inability to find a common decision. So they want to break down the stability of the political system inside Europe. So they want to the political fields to become too extreme to find some consensus on any issue. So because these very extremes also slow down the work of democratic system. So that's what Putin wants. They want to slow down the system as possible, because it's also the issue of providing aid to Ukraine. You see that, for example, extreme lefts are also for peace and for negotiations. They are against, as they call it, Nazi government in Ukraine. I also heard these narratives as well. So this is also part of Russian narrative. They're also being supported by Kremlin directly. And we see that by, this extreme polarization, Russia wants to achieve the destabilization of European political field, and to stop and to slow down the support to Ukraine, which is very important for them now, because we see that they're preparing big military operations in Ukraine, and they want the Western aid and Western military support to Ukraine not to come as fast as it is planned. So this is also the matter of influencing the situation. So I would also put the attention on that, because what Russia is doing, they're provoking different kinds of oppositions and different kinds of conflicts within the European political field. We also see that, for example, they also promote different kind of conflicts between diasporas. We also see that, for example, Russian hybrid operations are targeting Belarusian diaspora in Lithuania, for example, and they are provoking the conflicts between Belarusians and Lithuanians inside Lithuania. So they're using their bot farms, and they're also using even physical provocations inside European Union to provoke the the worsening of attitude towards Belarusian diaspora and, for example, towards Ukrainian diaspora as well. So this is also a part of their activities. So I would say that it's not about only promoting something populist. It will be the easy answer, but the real thing here is that they are provoking polarization, that they are provoking destabilization inside Europe, and they don't want the political dialogue to come to any consensus, especially on the issue of sustainable development and common plans in the military field and in supporting Ukraine.
Well, speaking of Ukraine, just as we wrap up, I wanted to hear your thoughts of what you think may emerge out of the peace summit that's just around the corner.
It's it's a difficult issue, but I would say that, here we see that at the moment Russia is intensifying their actions on the front line. So they want to synchronize their attacks and to stop the aid to Ukraine, and they want to, these discussions about the necessity of supporting Ukraine and so on and so forth to be held in Europe as long as possible. Also, the parts of these provocations that we have previously seen in Europe are also targeting different objects in order to slow down this supply of goods to Ukraine and supply of ammunition, because they are threatening that will attack this object. So here another control points should be established. So more security measures and so on and so forth, which 100% will slow down this inflow of the European aid and the American aid to Ukraine. So that's what they want to do.
So one quick question before we conclude. Do you think that we might be actually fighting a losing battle when it comes to the migrant situation? Because Russia is increasing its influence in Africa. See, for example, what happened in Mali recently, also the Central African Republic before that. And in that case, if they increase their influence, they will have more ability to tell people, look, there is an easy way into Europe. And Europe, Western countries in general, will not have a way to counter that, because the information space there in these African countries will be polluted by the Kremlin, who will be propping up dictators, warlords, and so on. Do you think we have any way of actually countering this?
First of all, it's about laws and rules. Frankly speaking, I don't believe how lots and thousands of illegal migrants can be coming into Europe every day. So how, if it's prohibited? So whether, then what for do we need border guards or something like that? Because what we see happening in Poland is quite okay. It's a good reaction. But when, for example, these illegal migrants by thousands a day come to Italy, so I just, wonder what for do they need this border guard, what it's doing, because it's ridiculous. The same issue goes with France and with Spain, with the southern countries that face this migration every day. So what's the problem to stop it? Because if you have bodyguard, you have laws, and the laws should be working. If the laws are not working, so you should get down to work and make them work. As simple as that. It's not the issue of some values or something. It's the issue of national security. And the national security is, it's the base of every national state. And if you have this very basement is ruined, then the whole state is ruined. So that's very simple. So from my point of view, it's the time to be very tough about fulfilling laws. It's time to be united in these issues. And also it's time to get down to work, to counter this Russian propaganda in different countries, also to increase influence in Africa in different in different parts of the world. Because Russia is financing their private military companies to work in Africa with these dictators. So then I have questions: where is this field of influence that was created or not created by the Western states? So what for did these people that were responsible for this direction got their money if they're losing now? It's this is just the questions to be discussed, and we should get an answer. From my point of view, the citizens of these countries should also ask these questions because they're taxpayers, and as any taxpayer, you would like your government to be responsible for what is happening and for what security threats are available and are happening right now.
Absolutely.
So what you're facing right now and in the nearest future. So from my point of view, these issues should be raised in the society, and you should you should discuss them, and you should find successful solutions, because this is the thing that your existence is dependent on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're going to have to park our conversation there. Zmicier Mitskevich, a journalist of Belsat TV, thank you so much for joining us at TVP World.
Thank you.